We're finally hearing from companies that earnings may not be as strong for the rest of the year as we originally thought. And all of that needed to happen in order to fight public enemy number one, which is inflation.
This June, SoFi hired a new chief technology officer. On the other hand, SoFi's head of investment strategy, Liz Young, mentioned in a recent interview with CNBC that we are finally behind the peak of inflation.
I think at this point, inflation is leveling off. I'm comfortable saying that I think the highest level is behind us.
However, she also warned,
but that doesn't mean that it's just rolling off a cliff and it's going to fall down to comfortable levels by the end of the year.
Benjamin Graham once said, the intelligent investor must always be on guard against whatever is unexpected and underestimated. In some ways, inflation could affect your investments, and understanding what it currently does in the market today could prepare you to make better investment decisions. Whether or not we're on the verge of reaching the bottom or we've already reached it, market factors such as inflation have taken a huge toll on companies' earnings. Luckily for us investors, we have experts like Liz Young explaining what we should expect in the remaining months of 2022. In this video, we're going over the 3 key points on inflation with Liz Young, what you should do to prepare as an investor, and lastly, we'll go over everything you need to know about SoFi's new Chief Technology Officer. So stick around until the very end, you don't want to miss any of this. We're not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice, so always do your own due diligence. If you're one of the Wealth Gambit OGs, you might have stumbled upon this video we made of Liz Young just last month, telling us there's uncertainty to expect in the market.
And as we move through earnings season, that is a narrative that I think we're going to hear from a lot of CEOs, that there's a lot of uncertainty. They're questioning how much they can spend, how much they can expand for the rest of the year, and they maybe hit the pause button on capital expenditures, on other business investment until we have a clearer picture of what happens with inflation.
Liz Young, SoFi's head of investment strategy, has given 3 key points to take note of as investors in order to defend ourselves from these market uncertainties. Number 1, earnings may not be as strong as we originally thought. As Liz said, it's better to expect the worst in the upcoming earnings season. To get a better understanding of what this means, let's take a look at 4 of the biggest competitors of SoFi in the fintech space. According to Tearsheet, many fintech firms are not getting much love during these inflationary periods. According to their Q1 earnings data, PayPal, Block, and Robinhood missed estimates. PayPal garnered a 43-cent EPS, which is 10.4% below estimates. Block got a little less gap between its actual and estimates compared to PayPal. It reported 18 cents EPS, which is just 10% below estimates. Robinhood seems to be taking a beating as it reported a negative 45-cent EPS, which is 28.6% below expectations. But on the flip side, Lending Club is on fire. It reported 39-cent EPS, which is 50% higher than expected. Sure, things are going well for Lending Club, but even with the aftermath of inflation affecting interest rates, Lending Club CEO Scott Sanborn said the company is set to proactively tighten underwriting on the margin to stay ahead of pressures that consumers may face. Reuters said that the Wall Street analysts are expecting a 9.6% growth in S&P 500 earnings this year. What do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts on this growth in the comment section down below. A lot of S&P 500 companies will report Q2 earnings after mid-July, and when profit expectations fall too high from the heavens, Liz Young's telling us to stay put, as this is what we need to take down inflation. Number 2, shifting consumer behaviors. To hear her thoughts on consumer spending, let's hear it from Liz.
To your point about core inflation versus food and energy, the thing about food and energy is that they're not optional items for consumers. So there isn't a substitute. We still have to spend money on that, and that's what's affecting consumer behavior right now. And consumers can change their mind on a dime about how they're going to spend their money going forward. Businesses can't do that. That's why we're seeing some of these problems with inventory and a lot of businesses trying to catch up with how consumers have changed their behavior.
So what does this mean? Liz Young is only telling us that this pullback in consumer spending might be making investors fearful. But in our previous video, SoFi CNBC star explained that companies are going to feel some pain from this move. It shows that around 70% of you guys watching aren't subscribed, so if you want to see more content like this, click that subscribe button down below. Number 3, the road to the bottom won't be easy. When asked about the status of inflation after multiple rate hikes hurting some of the big firms in the market, Liz Young said this.
I think at this point, inflation is leveling off. I'm comfortable saying that I think the highest level is behind us, but that doesn't mean that it's just rolling off a cliff and it's going to fall down to comfortable levels by the end of the year.
Liz is also expecting PCE to rise next year. It's also known as personal consumer expenditure, an inflation measure they use for tracking how much has changed in the prices of goods and services in the market today. Liz is expecting that this will be a better basis for making assumptions on the Fed's next moves to take down inflation. In fact, in the recent Fed meeting that happened last June 14th and 15th, confirmed Liz Young's hunch as PCE is already expected to increase to 2.7% in 2023. Now, let's talk about SoFi's new Chief Technology Officer, Jeremy Richel. He was hired just this month as a full-time CTO and head of engineering, product, and design. Prior to that, he was a senior vice president in the engineering department of Splunk, a tech company that builds up a solid data foundation featuring shared data with every department of an organization and boosting end-to-end visibility perks for every process of the business. As you can see, Jeremy had a short stint at DoorDash as VP of Engineering. Apparently, Jeremy and Anthony Noto have had history working together at Twitter. Back then, Anthony Noto was the Chief Operations Officer and CFO, while Jeremy was also the Vice President for the Engineering Department from 2015 to 2017. There's been a lot of drama surrounding Jeremy's tenure at Splunk. Shout out to Snipeshaw on Reddit for posting this and gathering this information. As you can see from the comments, the people have spoken and they're pissed. But we shouldn't judge a book by its cover. At the end of the day, what matters is results and the value you bring. It's too early to tell what he can do, but we'll see soon enough. As we head towards the second half of 2022, here's what Liz Young thinks about what you should do as an investor.
And I think as investors for the next 60 days or so, as a lot of this data rolls in, we're going to continue to see bumps, and it's okay to sort of sit on the sidelines with your money, but you also have to be prepared that the second half could be a lot better than the first half once we get past some of these big data releases.
Right now, we're witnessing not only SoFi executing its growth strategies, but also other big fintech firms like PayPal, Square, Robinhood, and Lending Club. As we can see, SoFi is doing everything in its power to stack the odds in its favor for success. With that being said, we leave you with this quote from Warren Buffett. Time is the friend of the wonderful business, the enemy of the mediocre. Shout out to these people who commented on our last video. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on our social media pages at Wealth Gambit. The link will be in the description box below. A special shout out to everyone in our Patreon community. You guys truly help to make these videos possible, and we really appreciate all the support. Shout out to Arthur Magazu, Wei Chu, Daniel Corbett, Mr. Welfare, Casey Patel, Jeff Sherman, Gregory Villar, Bo Park, Denzel, Reginald Davis, Les Broadway, Christian Cardelphi, Kevin Bofrand, Jay Bone, Daniel Zinson, and ABC Sam. If you happen to gain any value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to help us hit our next goal of 5,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, peace.